our proximity is what got us into trouble then. And what we saw back then was cocaine, heroin. And I think that the general public still perceives this sort of thing when they think about drug trafficking or they hear the term drug trafficking. And of course, they're a bit skeptical as to what really goes on when somebody traffics these types of substances. But I can tell you a lot of what you see in the movies is true about the more rare forms of drug trafficking, huge amounts of cocaine, and was more prevalent in the 80s. But yeah, you saw very wealthy individuals. You saw busts with guns, assault rifles. You had organized crime like you wouldn't believe, extreme violence, dealings with cartels in other countries, and the transporting of this product over into Florida. And it wasn't just cocaine or heroin, it was marijuana. These things were brought in during the 60s, but we saw the height of it in the 80s, and something was done about it. And those were increased laws. Increased laws that, and when I say increased laws, modifications to the drug laws with regard to, let's say, the substance, cocaine. Well, it didn't matter how pure the cocaine was or how much actual narcotic was in the powder mixed with whether it was sugar or carpet cleaner or the various fillers that are used by drug cutters, drug dealers, as it goes down the line from manufacturer to street sales. If you have a bag of powder and it's primarily a very fine type of sugar mixed with a very small amount of cocaine, the lawmakers established that it was the aggregate weight of the substance. So they didn't have to go in and test the powder for purity. This is what drug running used to be, and this is what I think the general public perceives. I think it's funny up there. They've got that bong. I just picture a bunch of stoners manufacturing and dealing with this organization, this movement of meth. You see, I think that's their personal stash down there, if I remember correctly. That's their bong up in the back. An assault rifle, shotgun, Glock, currency there, bags of currency. And this is relatively, seems like a small amount compared to what a lot of people have seen on TV with major busts. But, I mean, that is a lot of drugs there, people. That's a lot of drugs. That is a lot of meth. That's what people think about when they think about trafficking. And more importantly, that's what users think trafficking is. Users of not only street drugs, Schedule 1s, but also Schedule 2s, pain pills, pills that do have medical value. Those are users too, obviously. I think we've all been hit or touched by somebody close to us that has gotten mixed up in pain pills in some way or another. Here's another photograph. This is the last big one that I actually remember coming through. And I see the dog food bags there being ready to be placed into evidence bags. They were filled with cocaine. You see a fully automatic ammunition there, sat phone, of course the Glock. Can't make out what kind of key that is. But remember, these are mules probably at this level, so you're not seeing the Maserati key there. Once again, the mules, I think that's that green and silver item there. That keychain, when they opened it up, was full of alprazolam, Xanax, to calm the nerves. You're always going to see a personal stash for the mules and the runners that are facing the greatest risk They have their personal stash to calm their nerves. What's interesting and why I pointed that out is because that capsule right there, by today's standards, could contain a trafficking amount of prescription medication. I promise you, that capsule could contain, can fit, and did fit a trafficking amount of prescription medication, because the same laws about the cocaine with regard to aggregate weight, you don't have to test it for purity. You're going to go by the conglomerate, the entirety of the substance. Well, that holds true for pills, so they weigh the pills. 14 pills can get over 4 grams. 14, 17 pills. I believe there's 17 in that one, that capsule there. And the user, and most users aren't running drugs, they're using. The user possesses 14 to 17 pills, and they're introduced to the wonderful world of trafficking and being charged with it and what that means. And they look at you like you're crazy. And I understand drug laws. I understand the public interest in drug laws. Absolutely. Certainly. But it's always difficult to look a user in the eye and tell them that they're facing a mandatory minimum sentence that is day for day. And it starts at the 4 grams there. And these mandatory minimum sentences go all the way up to 25 years. Much harsher on the state level than on the federal level. And the state prosecutes these. The state prosecutes these trafficking charges. Now, the feds were handling these firearms and these sexy cocaine, heroin cases. The state's handling these prescription cases. There you go. You see an agent tearing open a box of what looks like cocaine. No hazmat suit. Gloves soaking up the substance. Pouring it out. By the looks of it, in the aft ground, he's got a lot of boxes to break open. He was probably the reason that they instituted the need for hazmat suits when doing something like that. Never really understood what they're doing here. But from what I understand, that was in this country. Meaning that sometimes drugs are disposed in rather crude, rudimentary ways in foreign countries. Here we take it quite seriously.